In the news that they didn't decide to tell you this week, the news that the mainstream media isn't going to in any shape or way mention. Now, I guess I'll say that it's not that the mainstream media isn't going to mention these stories or not talk about these things, but they aren't going to pump them up. And black people, as usual, are paying attention to every goddamn thing in the sun, under the sun, with the exception of the shit that actually matters. This week in Joe Biden's hometown of Boston, home city of Boston. Now, I don't know if Joe Biden is from Boston, but he's from Massachusetts, right? There was a group of people. Now, for the record, these people, most of them came from out of town. They're not from Boston. Called the Children of the KKK. Now, these punks came from everywhere, flexing muscle and trying to act hardcore. And something that they're doing is that they're going around the country and pretty much invading almost every city that is part of America's history. Boston, Philadelphia, Connecticut, etc., etc. You know, Raleigh. I'm pretty sure they'll be in Raleigh and Roanoke, Virginia, probably within the next few years. And the FBI and the CIA and the federal government are doing, you might as well say, nothing about it. And I pretty much said that if white supremacy was punished after Dylann Roof, if white supremacy was truly punished after Peyton Gendron, and I said in a very blatant, open way, not on my old channel, not on another website, but right here on this channel, that after Peyton Gendron, the actions of the media are pretty much encouraging the behavior. Something that happens from the conservatives is that this is what the conservatives do. They immediately, and they have a package. They have a behavioral package when they incite one of their people to come out and commit acts of terrorism against black people. And, you know, they immediately say it's a false flag. It's a conspiracy theory. It's the deep state, et cetera, et cetera. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand all that stuff. The other thing that they do is start trying to left-right politicize the issue and trying to say that, oh, the Democrats are the party of slavery. The Democrats are the party of Jim Crow. The Democrats are the party of racism, and the Democrats are the party of lynchings, and the Democrats and the Democrats and the Democrats. They start to try this weak-ass thing where they try to make you believe that in some shape or way that the acts that are happening are political. They're not political. They're racial. And I've lived in both Mississippi and Minneapolis. Those two places are about as opposite politically as you could think. But socially, racially, they have the exact same thing intact. You know, they gentrify, cause as much death, discrimination, and in Minneapolis, they very distinctly know, with all of the racial groups of black people that are there, all the Africans and Caribbeans and black Americans, they very distinctly know who a black American person is. Don't ever let them bullshit you and make them think that they lump everybody into one big giant nigga. No, they don't. They know specifically what a black American person is. I done seen them talking about it in the comments. I done seen them talking about it personally. And I done seen on jobs the way that they love to live in hell out of a poor black person that comes from a third world country who has a very daddy, mommy, parentalistic, reliant relationship among white people. Black American people have largely migrated or culturally evolved away from that. But back to these punks, the children of the KKK. They decided to get their masculinity on by attacking what was potentially, you guessed it, an LGBT painter. You know, the world, our white world is ending, everybody. The Mexicans are having all these babies. The black people are beating us up in MMA. And I believe my son is addicted to BBC porn. So let me go and the jobs are being shipped to China. Vladimir Putin is beating us down in Russia. The Mexicans are jumping over Donald Trump's wall. Some Twinkie ass white boy got his legs cocked up being bottomed out by his BBC lover. White women don't want to get married, and when they do get married, they're filing for divorce, all the way to the point that 60% of white marriages are ending in divorce. Your average white boy is turning into a bitch-made incel that sits up in front of faggot-ass video games all day, believing he's the man because he's able to outshoot somebody in Call of Duty. And you want to blame an 86-year-old black woman in a Buffalo supermarket on that shit. Look, white boy, you can sit up there and blame old black women in Buffalo supermarkets and run around the streets of Boston trying to attack a painter to re-in-tune yourself with your manhood. You need to just understand, pimping, it's over. It's over. Okay, it's over. There's nothing that you're going to do to bring white women back to the 1957 table of having 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 children. Your traditional, culture that you believe to be your tradition is pretty much done. It's over. It's finished. The rich white people among you don't really care nothing about the poor white people. They pretty much classified themselves into a religious order of people. You already know what I'm talking about. And relegate themselves away from you. I've been around rich white people. Rich white people are not blatantly, openly racist like Southern rednecks. They may be racist, but they're intelligently racist. They're high IQ racist. They shun people that run through the streets with KKK shirts trying to flex their muscles. And for the record, on a side note, and I know I'm breaking away from my rhythm here, the U.S. government, just like I said with Peyton Gendron, is protecting these guys. They're protecting these guys. Because look at the fact that in both Idaho and in Boston, notice how they're able to keep their faces covered. Even when they arrested these dudes in Idaho, you still haven't had one single one of those dudes. They should have did them just like they do drug dealers, just like they do sex traffickers, just like they do any other group of people that get arrested in mass. They should have pulled off their masks and put their blatant wide open faces dead in put their name and face, and as far as I'm concerned, their address dead in the face of the public so that everybody will see them and know who they are. But instead, they protected these dudes by, number one, just vaguely saying that, they're this racist group. Number two, not calling out a single leader of these groups. Number three, not finding out where they come from and attacking their base. Number four, protecting their identities. And number five, rapidly pushing the story out of media attention and hitting you upside the head with whatever random celebrity bullshit is going on. Now, back to these inadequate pieces of garbage in Boston. I literally seen the video where a left-wing woke liberal, and for the record, back in 2020, the left-wing woke liberals pretty much beat the crap out of these people all over the place. These right-wing people can't fight and ain't gonna fight. They was getting beat up by a bunch of liberals. If you remember all that stuff that occurred, even though all the attention was on Minneapolis, the most consistent riots were actually happening in Oregon and in Seattle. And the left-wing liberals were beating these people. There were videos all over the place. The only thing that they did, because the secret truth about the right wing is that they're old. Like if you look at the January 6th protests, it's a bunch of older people. It's like in their 40s and 50s and 60s and shit. They're not young. Liberalism and wokeism tends to be something practiced by younger people. So whenever they confront each other, it's going to be a bunch of young liberals ready to whoop a bunch of old conservative ass. All of the unwoke people, all of the people who are happily asleep. I guess conservatism is sleepism. Or nightmare deadism. I don't know. But anyway it goes, the left-wing liberals are beating on these people. And they're a bunch of queers, because I seen a dude. It was a little queer dude with no more than a loud horn. If I'm not mistaken, I believe he damn near had his shirt tied up into a little ball in the front. And he was chasing these little people, these little children of the KKK. They really are an offshoot of the Proud Boys, Patriot, Patriot Front, all these little white supremacist constitutionalist groups, or whatever, Proud Boys, I don't know, Sons of the Liberty, all the different groups. I can look them up, and, I forgot their names, but I can look them up. Stuart Rhodes, was arrested not too long ago, and he was the leader of one of them. But, like I said, they are weak as hell. They were being ran through the streets by this little liberal dude I'm talking about. And it was funny as hell, because there was a bunch of them, and he had a little sissy, effeminate voice. He was like, "What are you doing here? You all are not from Boston. You're from out of town. Show your ID. Show your ID. I bet you're Trump supporters. What are you doing here? Get out of here. Get out of here right now." And, and they were running as if they were scorned little children that were being chastised by their mama. And it was nothing but a little rainbow shirt liberal with a bullhorn yelling at them. And I'm like, you faggots need to go home. But they have this belief. And for the record, Massachusetts is also the home of the unknown soldier. Sadly and tragically, Massachusetts, even though they say people such as Candace Owens come over here and kiss white people's asses and say there's no such thing as systematic racism, but yet people that want to get in tune with America's founding and history are a bunch of racists who are in Philadelphia, Boston, and all these constitutionally American important cities, related to America's history. And it's funny because, like I said, I just think about Candace Owens and how they butt kiss and try to say that America's not a systematically racist country. This right here proves that America is very systematically racist. This is going to be covered up, and they're going to dig up a bunch of stories about random TikTok black people, some Negro in athletics and some nigga in entertainment. Or either they'll gather up a bunch of random stories about guys who had tragic situations with their girlfriends or whatnot, and they will make this the face of what's going on in black America. And they'll continue to cover this up and not talk about it. They're talking about it on certain websites, but for the most part, you might as well say this story is being covered up. You go to Twitter, there are no blue check marks that are having conversations about this. And the left-wing liberals on Twitter, they are completely quiet about it. Nobody's hashtagging it. Nobody of a very important big account is really saying anything about it. Whenever you look at it, it's nothing but a bunch of zero favorites. Nobody retweets anybody that posts up anything about it. You can tell that the algorithms have just taken over, and that the white supremacist algorithms have taken over, and that they're shoving the story out of existence. So black people are sitting up here like sitting ducks, and we're the only people in which we're literally going out there to grocery stores and churches. You could be killed shopping for, some rice and gravy, or sitting up there praying to the exact same God that the killer's grandmother believes in. And make no mistake, they did this just to implement that type of worry and fear in black people. And black people, if a man calls himself white, is pretty much the people that a man that calls himself white is going to get all his identity and sense of empowerment in doing. No matter how many Semitic people, Hispanic people, and other people affect this man's life, the group of people who affects a white man's life the least is the group of people that he spends the most time sitting up worried about, sitting up thinking about. Sitting up, if he was to make a racist group, let us attack a black painter of all people. Because you are his downfall. At least that's what he thinks. The whole thing is silly. And I tell black people, if you ain't got a gun on you, if you are not in possession of a gun, I feel bad for you, man. because you're the type that is just dumb and you can't be saved. I don't care if none of these dudes are even doing nothing to me. And I'm going to say this right on. I'm laying my gauntlet down right here on this YouTube channel. If I see any of these motherfuckers anywhere, I'm a take care of them. And trust me, I am equipped to do so. I'm done talking.